This is episode 6. Today we have a rapper, artist, director, manager,
Yes, sir.
manager. Bro, you wear so many hats. What do you want people to call you by? What do you go by? Who do we have in front?
I just go by Johni Boi Lopez, man. Yeah, like you said, a few different things that I do. It was funny. I just had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he was like, "Man, you do so much stuff. It's hard for people to kind of like,
Yeah,
what do you do? You know?" And I'm just a guy.
can't put you in a box, bro.
Yeah, I'm just a guy who just likes to be creative. Honestly,
So I want to start the story. Like let's start from the beginning. Before you became before you're at where you're at now. How did you get into rapping? Was that like the first thing that you wanted to do as far as creating wise, like artistic wise?
the first thing I got into was choir singing. Like so, when I was young, I was put in church choir. My tia, she was like, "You bad. You need to come with me to church." Shouts out to my tia Tony. She took me to church, and from then, it was like I fell in love with just singing and the songs that we were learning. Just the lyrics, they were just so deep. So then I started getting into songwriting. Then my mom
How
was,
old were you?
I was probably like, I want to say like 7, 8.
Yeah.
My mom wrote poetry too. I wish I knew if it was hers or not. You know, back then I just see it and I just expect it to be hers.
Right.
But she also told me over time that a lot of the poetry I would find are like some of her favorite poems. So I would just stumble across her writing, and it had me fascinated. Like I wanted to do that. Like I felt in my mind, I'm like, if she's writing these poems, I need to be writing songs. So then after that. Um, it, I don't. Obviously, I'm like 8 at the time, so like
Right. Yeah. I
7,
was gonna
8.
say
So it
it's like,
doesn't
do you
really
have any
go
thoughts right now?
anywhere, but it
Yeah.
just has the seed was planted for sure. And then after that, I just try to figure out how can I get involved.
Right. Okay. So you read the poetry, got into choir. What were like some other than your mom? What were some like early influences that kind
Michael Jackson,
Okay.
Prince, Tom Petty, Kid Rock, um, Run DMC,
Damn.
a lot of older, just all types of different music too, like New Edition,
Yeah.
Reba McEntire. Like I'm just listening to a little bit of everything. My grandma Alice, she was the one who would like play a lot of country and a lot of
Okay.
oldies, and then my grandpa, he's playing the Tom Petty and all that,
Damn,
and
bangers, bro.
and
Listen to that.
then my mom is on R&B, like tough, like
Yeah.
Keith Sweat, New Edition, TLC,
Damn, they
like
put you on then.
yeah. So I'm like listening, and then plus you got like I live because I'm Mexican, so I'm Mexican and black. So when you grow up in the household that I lived in a full Mexican household.
Okay.
So obviously you hear like Vicente
Okay. Yeah.
and then you hear like Elvis Crespo and just like a bunch of different Latin artists.
Right.
So like I had that mixture too as well.
Dang.
So, yeah.
Dang, man, that was a good mix then.
Yeah, for
That was a good
sure.
mix growing up.
It shouts out to my family. They're the ones that gave me up for sure.
Yeah, they curated a good mix, bro. So what kind of led you to, I guess, like when I first heard of you, I want to say it was when Indica Films was like making videos,
Yes, sir.
and I think that was the first music video I ever watched from them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you were on it, and this was like 20, I don't even know, bro, like 2010.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
like
was
early.
probably around the time. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that was like the first time, and like when I heard you, I was just like this, and I was still young, bro. I was like, I want to say like maybe 18, right? And it was like this guy's like up and coming type of vibe, you know. Like I felt like early on, I could already tell that like you were already getting that type of, well, you already have that flow, you know. So like, what kind
Appreciate
of
it.
put you in that direction where you felt like you wanted to be a rapper, so to say? Or would you call yourself a rapper? What do you call yourself as far as an
Yeah,
artist goes?
I'm both. I'm a rapper and a singer. So I don't get offended when people
Yeah.
kind of say either one. I love them both. For me, it really started around 11. 11 was when there's a bunch of artists from back in the day like Mickey D, Young Droop, Hurricane J, a bunch of
sick,
artists from back in the day that were the face of I would say the pioneers of the Merced scene. they were rappers. So
yeah.
those were the cool guys when I grew up. Like, okay, these are the guys that you want to emulate. And then I won a talent show in junior high at Tenaya Middle School, and that kind of my friends found out like, oh, like
Damn.
he can sing.
Yeah.
So rappers in my city at that point were like, okay, like we want you to sing on our record.
Oh,
So
like
I'm
be the
like,
hook or what?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
like be like write me a hook or you know,
Yeah.
like especially because when you're first getting into music, no one knows how to like write full songs like structure,
Structure,
and
yeah.
I was already doing that at a young age. So.
Yeah.
My homies are like, "How are you able to do this?" And I'm like, "Oh, "This is all I do at home," you know. So after that, I got into Mickey D's studio
Okay.
at 11, maybe 12ish. And I just never looked back from then. It was just like, okay, my life is gonna be here in the studio, and then yeah, just kind of studio hopping from there after that.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you started on, did you, how was it like trying to find your style as far as like music goes? Did you ever feel like you were leaning towards like maybe more hip hop or maybe more R&B, or did you find yourself like trying to like find that like who you were, who Johnny Boy was?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in the beginning there was no Johnny Boy.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then,
What was the beginning?
I remember. Okay, look, this is where we're gonna get into some funny stuff right here. Okay, so like when I was little, you remember that? I think it's, I believe it's, You Got Served, Little
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Saint,
Yeah,
Little Saint.
Saint. Okay.
Okay, before that movie came out, I was calling myself Lil Saint. Like, I swear. I used to draw it on papers, everything. The movie comes out, crushes me. I'm like, oh, I can't be
Oh,
Lil
this is before the movie?
Yes, I'm like, my cousins are laughing at me like, you can't be Lil Saint no more. Shouts out to my cousin Aaron and Adrian. They know this story. They were making fun of me. They're like, you can't be Lil Saint. So I was stuck for a long time from like 11 to like 13, 14, not really with a name, just
Okay.
kind of making songs with my friends.
Yeah.
And then it went to Johnny Boy the Prince in high school. That one of my friends called me Johnny Boy in basketball.
Yeah.
And then I was hella into Fresh Prince at the time, so I just
Damn,
combined them
mixed version.
both. Like I was like, we're gonna bring Johnny Boy and like the Fresh Prince together, you know?
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so after what was it? After high school, when did you start feeling like you had some sort of a route with music? Was it like after high school you were just like, this is what I want to do? This is what I
Junior
wanna
high was when I knew it. When I won that talent show in the 8th grade, I knew like, okay, I think this is what I meant to be. Because before I thought it was basketball. I was playing basketball. I still play basketball to this day, and that was my main focus. I was like, okay, got to get my grades up. I got to stay on point because, you can't go D1 if you got bad grades and all that, So eventually, that didn't happen for me because I was just kind of still being a bad kid and ended up being like on probation and stuff like that. So then that kind of changed my lane, and then my probation officer and my counselor at the time
Yeah.
told me like, you need something to keep you away from a lot of the people you're around. Like you're not a bad kid. You're just around kids who,
your environment.
yeah, you're just around kids who don't care about life, that don't care about, if they go in and out of juvie or not.
Yeah.
You're not that kid, so why don't we figure out what it is you like? And the first thing that my therapist told me, he was like, you come in here every day with headphones, so clearly you love music. He was analyzing me, and that was the moment, like that right there. It was like, okay, if I want to do something, positive with my life, let's do this music thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how far it can go. I'm at that time I'm like into Kanye and Lupe and like,
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm thinking if I can be a percentage of what these guys are, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
So I just said, okay, let me try, because like College Dropout and all that was out at this
Damn.
time when I'm thinking like, all right, I got to do something here.
With your environment, like you mentioned, do you feel like it kind of shaped your I guess your music, like as far as like who you were on the mic? Like, did you feel like you were an artist that was talking about like your life and how Merced is, or you feel like you were just making
In the
songs?
beginning, no. In the
Okay.
beginning, I didn't have that much depth yet. In the beginning, I was just trying to make songs. Like, okay, let's. In the beginning, I was more focused on being positive. Like, I didn't curse a lot. I almost
That
like
was
the dude who managed me pretty much my whole career is named Gotham, and Gotham when I met him, he tripped out because I didn't curse. He was like,
Like you can say one.
what's going on? Like, you just rapped 30 raps to me in your head, and you didn't cuss one time. And he saw that as like, there's some potential here.
Yeah.
Like, and like I said previous, I was in a little bit of a situation where I was on the bracelet. So
Okay.
he's like, all right, if I could just get you to stay in my studio and just be positive, like, and I didn't have nowhere to go at the time, so he was like, just stay with me. Stay here at this house. My only
Request.
word of advice and request is to, like, go to school. Just finish school your senior year, and you can be here every day in the studio and work on your craft and get better. And that's all I wanted. I just needed a space. I just needed a space to grow. And yeah, so like I was saying though, in the beginning, there wasn't really no route. It wasn't until I got with Jimmy where he was like, okay, we're gonna start finding your lane. And even my lane that ended up becoming my lane, I didn't choose. Like,
Oh shit.
the people chose that for me.
Damn.
Yeah.
I guess like another thing is like, so when it comes to Merced, and when you were starting off as an artist, did you feel like there were, other than like your producer friend right now that you mentioned, did you feel like there was a scene at the time when you were starting off? Was it hard for you to like put yourself out there?
There was nothing. There was There was artists. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't rappers, but there was none of us, not even myself at the time.
Yeah.
We weren't getting any recognition, any,
Like
and then
any shows?
yeah, like any show. Like, there was a small group that was getting, like, a couple small groups, like Make It Slap, the Fly Boys back in the day. Those crews were getting shows like at like Sports Bar back in the day in Modesto.
Yeah.
So that was like my only like real glimpse at, okay, guys my age can actually do this and can do it professionally.
Yeah.
And then just me, because like I said, I play basketball, so naturally you're competitive, and then in hip hop you're naturally competitive. So I was like, I want to do what those guys are doing, but just on another level. Like, I want to do 10, 20 shows within the year. I want to do, so my mind just started, okay, I need to start getting into the same venues as them, and I just need to start working hard. They were the benchmark, and then after that, I just kind of just try to meet them at their level.
Yeah. How did you do that? How was your approach?
With got him, Jimmy. He's I'm so blessed to have had him in my career, where he was older. He's an older man, and I'm 17. I don't really have that much confidence at the time, and he's like, nah, forget my language. He's like, fuck 17. It, we're gonna do it. We're gonna fucking do it. That's how his mentality was. And I believed him the first time when he was called to pick up Baby Bash for a show. Like, sick. One of our promoter friends was like, hey, we need somebody to pick up Bash from the hotel. Can you do it? And that was our way in. Like, that was our first, like, okay, this is a real rapper who has a real name, real recognition. Yeah. Plus, I mean, if you grew up in Merced, you definitely know who Baby Bash is. So I'm like, yeah, you got to go do that. Like, I tell him, go do it. He goes, he does it. I remember him driving by our old studio with Bash in the car, just so he's like, that's my artist out there. I'm out there waving and shit. Like, 17 years old, can't even go to the club or nothing, just waving. But that, I'm telling you, it's just little moments like that spark the inspiration of like, okay, this is possible. Like, guys like us from where we're from can be in close proximity to these type of people.
Yeah, the representation is important. I feel like, especially when you're an artist here in the 219 or in Merced in general, it's kind of hard to realize that there's a path or even a career to even pursue like your dreams, right? And then especially, I feel like at the time that I met you, I want to say it was like 2016, 2015. That's when I had the studio.
Yeah.
And that's when I started seeing like, I already heard your name, where I'm like,
which is crazy. Is like, when you say stuff like that, no, I don't mean it because it's crazy to me, because I'm not that artist that like thinks people knows him. Like, I'm the artist that like, I don't think nobody knows me because of where I'm from. Because I know that a lot of people, when I say Merced, even when I can be in front of thousands on stage, and I say Merced, and people don't know what I'm talking about. They're just like, where you know,
say
so
Fresno, and they might.
Yeah, they might know, or even Modesto, but Merced is still earning its name, and that's when, like I said, so in my mind, I just think like, like I said, I'm a guy. I don't even think nobody knows me. So when I hear that people have heard my stuff, or I even make jokes like it's like when young kids come up to me and they're like, "Hey, you're Johni Boy." I'm like, what poor soul put you on my music? Like, especially when I know I'm way before your time, but it is cool to know that, like people actually are paying attention, because it's like, I'm not really an attention type of person. I'm very into myself. Like, I'm very closed off, just due to my own like personal upbringing.
Well, I mean, you got to give yourself some credit, bro, because relevancy, right? Like you've been in the game for like over 10 years.
Yeah. Officially, for sure. And then I've been in the game since I was 11. So like, yeah.
And so obviously, like if you're still doing it now, there must be something that you're doing right. And especially like over the years, now you're starting to take on different hats as far as like you are creating that scene too.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
starting
you.
off, you
Appreciate it.
kind of had to navigate your own path. You had to like sail waters that you probably never even encountered.
Yeah, never
and
knew.
now you have that sort of like advice, knowledge to be like, okay, like maybe you should go this way, or maybe we can do it. I feel like like I said, like 2016 was when I met you like at the studio.
Yeah.
And that was because we had like Lucky, from,
Yeah.
Living Legends.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. And then I remember seeing you perform, and then I was just like, damn, this guy, like, you get down, bro. Because you give your energy and you give it your all, no matter, because I've seen you perform a couple times, but it's always like that same energy, right?
Yeah.
Like you're giving it your all, even if it's like 10, 100, or like you said, 1,000 of people. And I think that's the cool thing about you. It's like authentic.
Thank you, bro.
And when it comes to Merced, like, I feel like there's a lot of like 219 legends around here.
For sure.
But I'm like, when it comes to like as an artist, like for sure you're one of them, bro.
Thank you, bro.
You've been holding it down.
I really appreciate that, dude. Like, for real, because, like I said, but I was telling you before we started, I'm real heads down, like just so focused on my work.
Yeah.
I don't know who it's gonna affect. I hope it's gonna affect somebody in a positive way, and I hope that they see that, the energy and stuff like that, because that is my number one passion. It's just being on stage. I literally do all this just so I can be on stage.
How's that? So like, what was your first show?
My first show was show and tell in like third grade. I was writing a song by Diamond Rio, country band called One More Day, and my tia had just passed away from cancer, and I was just a little boy in my feelings, just sitting there at recess writing these lyrics from this song that I just thought was beautiful. And the teacher walks up to me. All the kids are playing. They're all playing basketball, soccer, whatever, tag. And I'm the only kid by the fence just writing in my notebook. She comes up. This is my favorite teacher. Shouts out to Miss Boykin. I love her to death. She's my favorite teacher of all time. And she walked up to me and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just writing these lyrics for this song." And she reads the lyrics and she's like, "Can you sing this?" I was like, "Yeah, I can sing it. I love singing this song, And she was like, "Okay, well, for show and tell, I want you to come sing this in front of the class." And then I sang it, and that was like cool, because I still, to this day, I remember exactly how it felt, being nervous and all that. That turned into, we had an assembly like a month later, and they had picked a song that I didn't feel should have been the song.
Okay.
So because my teacher trusted my musical expertise at the time, even as a young kid, she said, he thinks we should sing this song. And the teachers went with it. It was a song called "The River" by Garth Brooks, and we ended up having like 3 different classes singing this song, and it was cool. It was like one of the coolest things. So it's just music, Music has that effect on you. If it's a good enough song and it starts playing on those heartstrings, I think everyone can kind of just it connects with everyone,
Yeah. So that was your first show. When was I guess like you felt like you were having your first break, like in front of an audience that.
I opened up for Ray Shremmerd in Turlock one time, and that was like, okay, this is our first real big one. And then there's other big people on the lineup. I'm really cool with the artist from Oakland named D-Lo. I grew up with his brothers. Shouts out to all his brothers, you feel me? I grew up with them. They went to high school out here. So as D-Lo's having this moment, you know, he has this no-ho moment where the song's going crazy all over California, all over the nation, to be honest. Back then, even D-Lo was giving me advice, like, you know, you should do it this way. You know, don't do it. I try to do it that way. You know, don't do it that way. You know, so even to this day, when I see D-Lo, he's always showing me love and giving me advice and just being a good mentor. So that right there, it was during that time where he's on that lineup. There's a bunch of other people like Priceless to Rock, Get It Indie. There's a bunch of people that are like moving and shaking at this moment, and they call us. They're like, "Hey, we need you guys on this event," and we couldn't believe it. We were just like, we were checking the text like a million different times. Like, is this real? Like, because even up to that point, we've had tons of people kind of say that. I remember one time they tried to say that we could have got on like a Snoop show, and it just never came to fruition. A Wiz show that never came to fruition. So when people come to you with these offers, sometimes you're just like, you start getting skeptical, especially when certain things don't fall through. This is the one time where it started working for us, and it actually fell through. And shouts out to Rico. Rico was the guy that threw it. Rico, the manager, he threw it, and he's brought out a lot of dope acts to like the Turlock area. And yeah, he gave us our shot. And even before that, like, there's one show specifically where I felt it. Like, it was like, okay, this is different. It was when I opened up for YG and Mustard in Modesto at like sports bar. And I remember just thinking back then, like, and they weren't even huge yet. Like, they're not even, I think Tooted and Booty was out. Like, you know, so this is back then. But I knew, like, I had that feeling like these guys are going to do something. I mean, look at Mustard's on the Super Bowl, you know. So, but I even felt that just from watching them, like, these guys are doing something different. And, yeah, they just felt real. It felt like I'm in front of something real. And so it would be shows like that where I'm opening it up for bigger people, and I get to kind of see behind the curtain. That's when I started realizing, like, okay, we really got something here, you know. And all I would ever tell myself is just, like, keep going out there and giving 100. Like, go out there. I don't care if I feel like I'm going to pass out or I'm like, I might as well just pass out up here then.
How do you feel? How do you feel when you're on stage performing? Are you aware?
I'm 100% aware because I don't have any backtracks behind me, so I'm out there 100% live, and I'm very much in my head. So like, even if I'm rapping and you see me rapping, I'm thinking about your movements and your thoughts and what your facial expressions. I'm more focused on that than I am my lyrics, because in my mind, every show I prepare for, whether it's small or big, so I should know these lyrics. If they should almost be on autopilot at this point. And if I'm not, then I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. I was probably fucking around before the show, which I don't do. I'm very critical on myself as a performer. Like, I strive for not perfection, but I want the fans to get a really good show, even if they don't know who I am.
Do you have like a ritual before you go in?
Pray. Just pray. Pray right before I go on. I notice when I don't pray, I have bad sets, for sure. Like, not even bad sets, just I wasn't all the way in it, and I do think a lot of my talent is God-given. So like, I know that those prayers before is my moment with God to say, like, thank you. You know, thank you for allowing me to get to another one of these events, another one of these moments. Everyone has their own thing, but that's mine for sure. One of my best prayers was, I'm praying right before I go on stage, and one of my favorite rappers took a picture of us praying, me and my crew. And sick. I was like, man, no, it was never sent to me. It was, I probably could get a hold of it. One of the homies knows this rapper, so I probably could get a hold of it. But I just remember the flash going off, and I look up, and it's Roach Giggs taking a picture of us praying. And I'm like, what is going on here? You know, I was super into him at the time, so it was already an honor to open up for him. But for him to see my little piece of my ritual, and for him to think it was cool enough to take a picture of, like, it was a humbling moment for sure.
That's dope, bro. Roach Kicks. That's funny because that's also another video that I saw with the Indica.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
'Cause,
yeah.
yeah, and then Roach Kicks was killing it for a while too. I remember him was he was just like
He was
dropping
hot. He was hot.
He's
Yeah.
like a teacher now,
Yeah, he's a teacher.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. He changed his whole life, and that's another thing that I love of watching what hip hop can provide for you. You know, it doesn't always have to be just music. You know, he got himself to a position where his success allowed him to go to school and
Truly.
do what he wanted to do. You know, and that. Shouts out to him for forward thinking and knowing that I don't want to be in here forever. So let me get this to because he was doing a lot of things that artists weren't doing at the time. He's going to New York. He's shooting videos out there. Krayshawn's directing his videos. Like, just little things. Like, I'm a music nerd, so
He's like in Chowchilla, right?
yeah. He's
okay,
he's
That's so nice.
he's all over the place, you know. So that was the one thing that I loved. Like, I learned from him, you know, was just grind, be everywhere, go everywhere, do everything you can, you know, and eventually you'll set yourself up for whatever your next goal is.
So as far as like performances, what was the worst performance you've had? And how'd you
I know
come
exactly where you're. Madeira, this spot is in the middle of nowhere called Vinny's.
Madeira?
Yeah, Madeira. It's like a bar in the middle of nowhere, like literally in the sticks. And it was my first performance with my crew that I'm with, with Jimmy, and yeah, we booked it out there. We booked the spot. We thought it was gonna be jumping. We get there, it's like 5 people there, and then I had this song called "Thank God for the Weekend" at the time, and that was probably like my first song where I guess locally people started noticing me. This is before like what people would say is my biggest song is "Ratchet Party." Before that, I had "Thank God for the Weekend," so that's like my baby. Like that's the first time I ever got like real recognition, you know. So I remember I'm doing that. It's the end of my set. I'm about to do this song. And there's a drunk dude at the bar. He's like, "Boo!
No way.
You suck!" And then my my manager got him. He's like, "Fuck you!" Like he's yelling at him like hella mad, you know. And I kept it moving though. I kept it moving. I didn't care that he was doing that. I know that the show must go on. I had performed enough up to that point to know like who cares? He's just a heckler. But yeah, I remembered that, and
how'd you feel?
oh, I felt like shit. I felt like, damn, like I'm not good enough to like win these 5 people over, you know.
They're like the hardest type of shows, right? Like when
when it's intimate like that, yeah, for sure. I see a lot of people backstage when it's small shit like that. There's hyperventilated and sweating, and I'm just like, it's okay, just relax, you know. I usually call on moments like that to tell them like, hey, bro, I've done this. I've had shitty ass. I wouldn't even say the crowd's shitty because they're not. You know, they're there just doing their own thing. You know, it's just more of like
first impression.
Yeah, your first impression, trying to win people over. It's not always gonna go your way. And once I went through that, it was easier from then to like go through stuff
back,
like that. Yeah.
Bounce back. Okay, so that was a setback. What do you think? What was like the best performance to date? Like what's like a highlight that you still carry when you're just like you probably felt like that? I don't know, that type of high. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the greatest high I've ever felt was opening in front of 8,000 people with Snow the Product at Chichanti Park. One real reason why was because I used to watch baseball games in that park.
Sick. Wait, this was
with
like
my grandpa. This is like 2 years ago, 3 years ago almost now. Yeah, and I just, because I had opened up for her in Modesto and in Orangeville. And then, excuse me, this promoter that I was working with at the time, I was doing the camera work. I told him, I offered him my services. Like I was like, hey, I can do camera work for you for the whole show, and I can do the advertisements for you. Like I can make all the digital advertisements that go on the screen and everything. All I want is 10 minutes to perform. I don't want to get paid. I don't want to, you know, I just want 10. So I would leverage my skills to get in the door. I still do that to this day. Because a lot of artists will come up to me and like, how do you get these shows? And man, I work. And if it's not money, and sometimes I've had to invest money into certain shows, bigger shows. That comes with the game. That comes with the territory. But usually it's me working. Like, I'm not only gonna be performing, I'm about to be out there with the camera. I'm about to be doing stuff. So if you see me just chilling, that's a rare thing because I don't usually just chill. You know, usually after a stage, I'm going back there, setting my camera up. Now we're gonna film the rest of the show. And then plus I gotta make sure that I film myself. Shouts out to my boy Donnie because Donnie is the man. He would help with a lot of that stuff too. And then plus since he's helping me, and he raps. Hey, you get to come up on here too. Come do a song, you know. So share the moment with my homies, and that was great. That was always great. Where it's me and Donnie out there, and there's all these people, and you know, feeling that energy, like how you were saying earlier. Me giving out that energy, it's very rare. I get that same energy back, and
So
that was crazy. Like it was, I couldn't believe it. You know, I couldn't believe that I would even be in front of this type of crowd.
Yeah, I was gonna say, bro, like 8,000 people, like that's wild.
It was insane.
That's
Even
like
watching
roads,
the footage back,
you know
too.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, did you feel like you, do you watch it
Mm-hmm.
and you're just like, damn, I don't even remember doing that, or you're just like locked in the whole time and you're like, super,
Now, since we're like so far removed, it is harder to remember like specific things, like how I felt. But the one thing that just, I guess the one thing I remember the most is that my mom was there. You know, so my mom is my biggest supporter. So she was there in the crowd. So being able to look over her, and she's this small speck in this big old crowd. And I shouted her out when I was on stage too. So a lot of people were like looking over there, like, "This is your kid." Like, that. Those are like the greatest. Like that's the greatest moment, knowing that my mom got to see me do something that I love, that I've been loving to do. Even when she doubted it, because there was a time where she was like, "I don't want you to be a rapper. I don't want you. I want you. I think you're smart. I think you should go to college and do something different." And but I proved to her that this is exactly what your son's supposed to be doing.
Dang.
Yeah. So
as far as that goes, were people supportive with you being like, did you find yourself like kind of like fighting and sort of like proving yourself?
all my friends in the beginning, or so-called friends from high school, kind of turned on me when this Ratchet Party song came about.
Someone started getting like plays, right? Like,
Yeah, that's the one that really started. Like me and Indica Films hooked up on a video. We were already shooting videos before that, but it was their idea. They were like, "You got this song Ratchet Party. We're just gonna throw a party. You just show up and rap." You know, I was like, all right, I don't know if that's really gonna work. You know, like because I know how people are in Merced, and they're like, "We don't care if you rap, fool. We trying to party." You know, so I didn't really think that would be a good idea. But they were like, "No, it's gonna work for you. Like, let's do this." You know, so they set it up. They set up the whole thing, the party, the house, everything. I showed up with my crew. You know, we just did normal stuff. You know, just drink and party like young kids do, and but that wasn't me. Like as far as like most people that knew me knew at that time, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink. So you're seeing me in a video smoking and drinking and partying. To a lot of people, that was like, this isn't him.
Right.
So a lot of my close people that were around me, like even family, was getting upset. Like, we don't like seeing you. You're doing the same stuff that all the other guys do. Like, we didn't know. And I was like, I'm just having fun, man. You know, I literally did this because my director said to do it. I didn't do this because I chose to do this, or this is, you know, but I still took it head on. Whatever. You guys are mad, let you guys be mad. You know, I know I'm not being fake. I know I'm being myself. And I know that this is something that, this is a part of me. It's a new part of me that you guys aren't used to seeing yet. And even now, like, you know, I think about it and we're like, me as a person, do I want to show people like my party lifestyle? No, but it worked for me at that time. It definitely worked. And I gained a lot of new appreciation, you know, from different people outside of just my small circle. So that right there let me know that even if, and a lot of those same people that, like I said, got mad, a lot of those people did come back around eventually, but there was a few that just like kind of completely cut me off because I turned into this character that they perceive me to be. That I'm still myself, you know, but they perceive me to be this character.
Do you feel like that persona, right, like that character, were there more glimpses of that person, or like is is it like a part of you, or is it's just something that you just portray for that? Just
I
for that
say if you're like okay, like if you're talking about the version of me who's like having fun and being with his homies and shit, yeah, that is me, you know, drinking and chilling and smoking, whatever. And like I told you before, you know, I don't drink much. It was
Yeah.
basically because of that era. Like
Yeah, no, that was-
I
yeah,
was
that was
getting
the
I was
scene.
getting
Yeah,
crazy back then, you know. So now I've calmed down so much that and becoming a father does that to you too. You know, you don't want to be all blacked out in front of your kid or anything, you know. So for me, I immediately, I'm like one of those type of people. Once I drop
Evolve.
something, I just drop it. Like it's not no, like I'm gonna be holding on to it for a long time. I said, all right, that was one part of my life. Now we're moving on to the next phase. And like you said, just evolving, trying to evolve, you know. I felt like it was appropriate at that time. I'm 19, 20, 21,
Yeah, that's
you
like the
know, like
perfect
this
time
is
to
the
do that.
perfect time to wild out and do what I'm doing.
Yeah, it makes sense to wild out.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
really-
and then if you look at my music now, there's a lot more older content. You know, I'm talking about being in love and you know hardships of being an older man now and just stuff like that. So I've opened up my, you know, categories that I'm in. But back then, yeah, of course, I'm young. I want to party. Even the song before that was called "Thank God for the Weekend." You know, so it did blow my mind that I'm like I'm showcasing that I do this. Like I have fun with my friends, but certain friends and certain people were against it. But like I said, eventually it won them over.
Yeah.
They definitely, like a lot of the same people, won them over. And even if I didn't, you know, it's cool. I'm not gonna be everyone's flavor. I understand that.
Yeah, you can't please everybody.
No, you can't for sure.
As far as evolving goes, like when did you feel like you started tapping in more in the, like you've been in front of the lens for so long? When did you feel like you wanted to be behind the lens with the camera?
Much like everything in my career, really, I never really choose it. I end up in these positions. Like one day, my partner GB, shouts out to GB, he calls me, and he sees it was that show with Snow the Product. He's like, "How are you doing this? Like, you don't have a huge following, you know, and he does. So he's like, what are you doing that I'm not, you know?" Not in those words, but kind of just like letting me like, you know, just kind of like, what do I got to do to start doing this? And I'm like, honestly, I book myself, you know, so there's not so much red tape for me to have to go through. And then I told him, you know, I offer my services. And then he was like, well, man, I need somebody. I was like, I just asked him straight up, being a friend, like, who does that for you? Because I see you're having a moment, and I do feel like you should be at these shows. You know, I've invited him to those shows as well, like those big ones. I'm like, hey, come out and do a song, you know? Sometimes he couldn't do it, you know, but at least offering him was always like letting him know, like, I think you should be here. Like, I definitely think you should. Even for that 8,000 people show, I invited him. I was like, bro, if we got a record together at that time. So I was like, let's do that, you know, live. But the schedule just wasn't working. But after that, he was just like, book me a couple shows. Like, let's see how it works. So I became his booking agent at first, started booking a few shows, and then he had started introducing me to other artists. And then other artists would be like, hey, can you do it? And I'm like, hey, yeah, for sure I can. And then I started realizing that these specific artists are not allowed to do the traditional venues that I do, which I felt was unfair.
Oh, like as in like
Like
the city wasn't
the
letting them?
cities, like cities you go to won't allow them to be there. You know, even my own city would have issues with certain shit like that. And that's when I started realizing, like, okay, this is weird. Like, because I don't go through this. You know, I've never had to go through any of that type of, you know, treatment. So it was odd to me, like, and kind of put a fire in me to be like, all right, let's get these guys into some legit venues, you know. And that's kind of been my mission for the last like 2 years, was just like, all right, I'm gonna help myself, but I'm also gonna help these guys, and you know, get them into places that they didn't think they can go, you know, and because they already have the recognition and all that for it.
They already have the talent.
Yeah, they have the talent, they have the fan base. Their fan base is wanting to see them, but you know, the powers that be are trying to hold them out of it, you know. And I still to this day go through back channel things that happen behind the scenes, but that's where it's up to me to make sure that the final product gets out there on the stage.
It's funny that you mentioned that because when I had Lens 360, and after we did like a couple like shows like rap and hip hop, there was one show that we were gonna have, and I forgot the name of the artist, but there was somebody on the lineup that like caused a red flag, and then the city, right, and the police department, they called me. They were like, "Hey, so we need you to come to the police department," and I was just like, "For what?" And they're like, "We need to talk to you," and then I'm like, "What the fuck? What happened?" So then I go over there, and it's like these two undercover cops at the time, and then they're like, "So this artist on your lineup, if they perform, then there's a chance there's gonna be this like gang affiliation type of like fight and blah blah, and you can't have the show." And I'm just like, "Are you advising me that I can't have the show, or are you telling me that I can't have the show?"
Yeah.
And then they're just like, "If something were to happen, you would be responsible."
Liable, yeah.
What, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, bro, I was super young. I think I was like 24 24 at the time, and I was just like sitting on it because I don't like when people tell me what to do.
Yep.
Especially if I already have something going on, So I was just like, nah, fuck it, we're still gonna have the show.
Yeah.
And then anyway, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. But after that, I had police parked outside the studio every time I had a show.
Yeah.
They would always just be watching us, counting how many people would come in, and after that, like, it was just being more of a hassle for me to do anything. It's like now I had like a magnifying glass on me, just getting checked on. So like you saying that, yeah.
And that's to think about it. It's been going like that for years. Like that's also another reason why I was glad to come on this podcast. Cause I definitely wanted to talk about that. I think it's unfair for artists to be, ridiculed for maybe things in their past, or, especially if they paid their debt to society. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You guys are just trying to regurgitate the same, negative energy towards them when they're removed from this. These guys are, they got families. Their fathers, they help their community.
Yeah, they give back.
Yeah, they give back. It starts to just be like, you guys are nitpicking. You guys are just really nitpicking, and you guys want to be the ones the powers that be. When I say you guys want to say who can and can't be, and legally, I don't think they can do that. Right. To be honest, like legally, I really don't. And I won't say too much, but behind the scenes, we're working diligently on that, trying to figure out how we could put a stop to that. Because at the end of the day, everyone should have the opportunity to provide for their family. And if there's no real reason to stop an event, I think if anything, the cops and all the politicians and all the people that are worried, maybe you guys should come to a show,
right.
And see that there is not that, that negative stigma on this. Hip hop has evolved over the years. It's not just gangster rap anymore. It's you got pop hip hop, you got rock hip hop, there's so many subgenres of hip hop now.
Country now too.
So for the, like I said, I keep using powers that be, but for these people to sit here and jump the gun and say, oh, well, we think these type of people are gonna. How could you say that when it's such a broad scale of so many different type of rappers? Not everyone that's a rapper is a gangster rapper, and not every fan of rap likes gangsters or gangster rap. So I think that needs to be taken into account now when it comes to hip hop, and not just judging it on such a surface level. I think they need to go a little bit deeper and realize that just like not all cops are bad, not all rappers are bad. So. But hopefully, that we can get some knowledge out there to them, so that way. And if anybody wants to come talk to me, we can. I'm like you. I'm willing to sit down and have that conversation with whoever wants to have that conversation. But I just think it's unfair that these artists, mainly certain ones that I represent, don't get the same fair shot that even an artist like myself would get.
What's some advice that you would give somebody who's facing that sort of adversity, like as an artist?
Keep on it. They can't keep you out of everywhere, and luckily, there's places out there that will open their doors for you. I was the same way. Just because it wasn't in the same fashion, they didn't always want us in the building. You know, they didn't even think we were talented enough to be in the building at some points, you know. So you have to, once you get that one that'll work with you, you know, that's your first stepping stone. You build one, then you'll find another, and then you just keep working, building up build up that clientele. You know, work with the ones that want to work with you, and eventually the people outside will start paying attention for sure, for sure. Because like I said, in the beginning, I felt like nobody wants to listen to me, and then when I hear people like yourself say, "Oh, I heard of you," or I heard your name, and I'm just like, what? Like how? You know, so it gets out there. You just got to give it time. For sure.
I think I still got footage of you, bro. I'll have to
It's
check.
crazy.
I
That's
probably
crazy.
still got
I think
footage.
there's a picture of myself on at Lens
Oh, we
360
definitely
on
took
my
pictures,
page.
yeah.
I think it's still on my page to this day. You know, I try to keep a lot of the show stuff up there just because I want people to see. Like I went from
Document.
small venues to the bigger stuff that I do now, and I get a lot of kids too telling me like, "How do I get that?" I'm like, "Well, you got to start small first, you know." Not everyone's lucky enough to, you know, even I wasn't that lucky. I had to,
Takes time.
man, it was hundreds of shows before I finally got to doing big stuff, you know, hole in the walls.
Did you ever feel like, was there ever like a moment where you felt like maybe this isn't for me?
To this day.
How'd you get through that?
To this day, I feel like it's sometimes where it's just like, because it's such a saturation and stuff, you know, you just see what does get picked up, and you're like, well, I'm not that, you know, so how am I gonna have a shot, you know? But then, I realized that all the best artists, man, they're loved because they're themselves, and you know, they're not compromising to what everyone else is doing, you know. So I just tell myself, hey, stay true to yourself, and you love this, and I think people around will see that you love it enough. And if that turns into a record deal, or if that turns into, you know, you getting a placement on something, then cool, you know. Right now, my big goal is just to make sure that I'm being the best artist I can be, you know. The content has to be great for you to hit those levels, you know.
Yeah, that's part of the game.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
the biggest part. And I'm not one of those guys to be like, well, shit, I made it, because me and my producer alone, we have 185 records together.
Damn.
So that's just with me and him. That's not other producers I worked with. That's not other studios I've been to. And I tell people, look at, like, I probably only get a fraction of those records out, you know? And it's just because, one, I'm a perfectionist, and then two, not every song is a hit, you know?
Right,
Not every
right,
song is, you know, you can get it there, but it might take a little fine-tuning behind the scenes, so I'm not just going to rush anything. And a lot of people have told me that might be my detriment, is like I don't put it out as frequently as like everyone else, you know? So I'm real stuck on the quality of it more than the quantity of it.
Do you feel like what's more important to you? Like, I mean, obviously, it sounds more like the quality than the quantity, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like is there like a fine line between obsession and like I guess like love for what you're doing? Do you ever feel like you become too like involved in it, where you kind of like just everything else is just like on the back burner?
Yeah, sometimes definitely, especially when you wear so many hats, you know, you want everything to go perfect, you know, and sometimes you do got to take a step back and realize, like, hey, man, like, there's some times where I'm like, how many hours of sleep am I on? You know, I just went from, like, I'll do it all in a day, too. I'll book a couple shows for the artists I represent, then I'll go into songwriting, then I'll rehearse some songs that I want to do live, even if I don't have a show. Just to rehearse, that's really what it is, because I preach to, like, my boy Acito. I preach to him all the time, like, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, you know. So I've been at events, even in an event with GB, right, where I could tell, like, he was gonna need somebody on his side. I was like, fuck it, I'll be your hype man today, you know, like. I'm just always game for stuff like that. Like, whether it's me being out there being a front man or me just being a hype man, I want the best show. I want when people leave that building, they're like, yo, that dude is sick. Like I might,
That's what's up.
I don't. I can't say I don't care. Like I do care if they follow me and they, but
Yeah.
I just want them to
Experience.
have that experience and just know that the next time they see me, they're like, hey,
Yeah,
I
it's gonna be a
seen
good
this
show.
dude.
It's gonna be a good show.
I know who this dude is. I've seen him at smaller stuff, and yeah, he gives a great show. So
Okay.
that's usually like my main focus, really,
That's
right
what's
now,
up.
for sure.
What are some so right now, like current Johnny Boy, like what should we expect from you? Like, are you gonna be more of a like booking manager, or are you gonna be artist Johnny Boy?
Right now, I'm currently like I work
What's the
with
path?
like I work with a bunch of artists like on the booking level, but I did have to kind of step back a little bit because I was just getting too overwhelmed with. Even now, I get people all the time asking me like, "Hey, I see
Put
you
me
work
on.
with so and so. Can I work with you?" I had to eventually start saying, not no, but like just not right now, just
Right.
because I do still have these aspirations of being Johnny Boy, the artist,
Yeah.
So, and even the people around me, the guys that I do booking for, they're
Yeah.
telling me like, you still got a shot at it. You need to go after it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until this last year where, because I was actually in the transition of just doing
You were gonna go.
management. Yeah, I
Okay.
was gonna go full time management because I'll be honest, I make more money as a manager than I do as an artist. So
Yeah.
that being able to provide for my daughter is more important.
Yeah.
But that urge is still in me, and like last year, I just did my last show I did was in Berkeley with Acito, and I performed, and even that didn't go the greatest. Like I had a migraine
Oh, okay.
going
Right.
on the stage, so it wasn't like my best performance, but I still did what I
Yeah.
always do. I'm out there dying, trying to act like nothing's happening,
Yeah.
and then I just told myself like, man, you still love this. Like you still love being up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually trying to book more shows for Johnny Boy within this next year. Like a lot more than probably I ever have. To be honest, like I want to do a better scheduling for myself than I've ever done. So
What's the upcoming show? Do you have
you might see me pop out on a couple of these Acito shows just
okay.
to get the crowd going. I
Yeah.
feel like he needs a good opener, somebody that really knows how to rock a crowd. He
Right.
has openers that are very good,
Yeah.
but they're not as seasoned as myself. So
Okay.
I feel like even I'll be able to kind of give them some
Yeah.
tips on being on stage, because they're still young. A lot of those guys are only like 23, 24.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
still learning the ropes, being out there. So if they're able to see a veteran like myself go up there, have fun, that's
Right.
the main thing I tell them. Don't even be all stressed out about all those people being out there.
Yeah.
Just have fun. Go up there and
'Cause
enjoy
they'll
it.
feel it.
Yeah, and they're lucky because they got fans that sing their songs already. I'm
Oh,
out
okay.
there
Right.
earning
Right.
it. Like I'm
Yeah.
out there. Hopefully, by the third hook, they can remember the hook, or something like that. But
Yeah.
no matter how the show goes, man, it's always a pleasure to just go through that experience. Whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad.
That's what's up, bro. That's dope.
Yeah.
Is there any advice that you would give any up and coming artist trying to be in the position that you're in now?
Yeah, just always, believe in yourself, even through the hard times, especially through the hard times, man. When you're going through ups and downs, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your family, whether it's your job, whatever's going on in your life, use that as the fuel to, propel you to where you want to be. I've had a lot of my own homies, like, they'll see when I'm upset, and they're like, man, you go right to the studio every time. And I'm like, yeah, because it's like the only way that I know like a positive outlet. Find your positive outlet. If there's any artists out there that's listening, just find your positive outlet. Find the people that are, that really believe in you. It's only gonna be a small few, so you don't gotta be worried about having this big old crew. Just find those one or two people that really believe in you, and you guys will take over the world. That's how I feel about me and my boy right now. Me and Gotham, we've been together for 15 years strong now. I've seen his daughter grow up. When she was 3, she's 18 now. So to be to be to be in the game and grow with a person, and him seeing me grow, you need that. You need someone on your side that truly believes in you no matter what. So my advice is just find that artist and never give up on your dream. Is even if it's hard, even if it feels like you ain't gonna get there. Trust me, you can. You really can. I've seen so many people that are not even just in music. Like my friend
Yeah.
Jalinda, she's an Olympic trainer. You know, she was running track here in Merced, and now
Yeah.
she's training some of the top athletes in the world. You know, that was her
Dang.
dream. You
Dang.
know, I've seen my uncle, 20 years in the Air Force. You know, so there's a lot of people that I seen them go after their field, and I
Yeah.
seen them stick with it. So that's
Yeah.
the number one thing I could tell any young, old, whoever you are, stick with it. Don't give up. The moment you give up, well, you'll look back and end up realizing like, dang, like I had it in me,
Yeah.
and you might have just missed your opportunity. Like the week you quit, that
Yeah.
next week somebody the next day is gonna be like, oh, I'm looking for somebody, and
Yeah.
you're not there. You know, so just stay in it no matter what, and you'll get there. Set your own personal goals too,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah. You got to.
yeah, because I know for me it wasn't a lot of that in the beginning. It was just like, oh, I'll take whatever I could get, you know. But then once I started setting goals for myself,
Yeah.
I realized that okay, this is a lot easier now because I have a little bit of a blueprint of what I'm trying to do.
Make it attainable.
So yeah, just write them down. Write them down. That's the biggest thing for me. Just write it down, and as soon as I write it down, I know it's possible. You can make it happen.
Oh, dude, 100%.
Yeah.
Like manifesting in that sense, writing it down, crossing it out, and then you see everything that you've been doing, and then you look back and you're just like, damn, everything I said I was gonna do, I didn't. No, that's huge. That's something that I try to practice too. It's like, this is what I'm gonna do this month. This is what I want to do at the end of the year, and then you don't have to like always look at it, but just like looking back, you're just like, that's sick. Like,
Yeah.
I did what I set out, what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
So with that being said, is there any advice that you would give yourself, like a younger version of you, like 20 years ago, that like any advice that Johni Boi now would give to a younger version?
Yeah. All that trauma is gonna pay off. It's gonna pay off. You as a young man, I went through a lot of dark stuff. That maybe I'll share like in a book or something like later on. But if I could tell that young man anything is, man, it gets better. It gets a lot better. You end up getting a beautiful daughter. You end up
Yeah, how's
getting
fatherhood?
fatherhood is the best part of my life. You know, being a dad really changed me from the moment she was born. I realized that this is my purpose, not music. This is my purpose. Making sure she becomes the greatest person she can be. No parent is perfect. No parent is, does everything right. But I am just like totally grateful for what she's changed inside of me. You know, I was a knucklehead before and a little bit after she was born. You know, I still had tendencies that, had to be, worked out. And because of just her, she just switched everything up in me. Like, I just wanted to be better for myself, and be better for her. So that ultimately makes me a better artist. I know if I'm being a great father, then I'll be a good artist for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of artists out there that don't even acknowledge their kids, and I feel like you see those guys just fall to the wayside. But those dudes that are real good fathers, you see them for the test of time. They're always there. And I mean, look at Jay-Z. He brings his kids everywhere. You know, whether it's the football game or the Grammys, or they always have their kids with them to show them that like I might be great,
Yeah.
but you about to be way greater than me. You know, so like,
Man, that's true,
and that's how I feel about my daughter. I feel like she's already way taller than I was at 6 years old. I don't know if she gonna go to the WNBA or like I got recordings of her like that she does on her own. She taught herself all of this stuff. I did not teach her how to do it. She started singing on her own. She's done her own little performances. Like, man, and honestly, as a performer, it scares me to expose her to any of that. My siblings too. I'm the oldest of 5, and they all wanted to go into music too, and I told them like because I had started getting a little buzz around the city, I go, they're gonna be harder on you guys. Like they're gonna expect you guys to be good already, and you guys are just starting. And then I would bring them to the studio, and then they realized how hard it was. Like they were like, "Oh, you got to do all this to make a song?"
Like it looks simple, but it's not
yeah,
easy.
yeah. So after that, they kind of went into their own things. But at least I showed them. I would always have my family's a big thing for me. Whether it's my siblings, my mom, my daughter, my grandparents. They're usually all involved with, like, if I got like a family friendly show, they're gonna come. They're all gonna come, and I'm gonna have a little section for them to watch. And they've all seen the growth too, the evolution. I remember seeing my little brothers in a tent. I used to have a certain tent just for them, because sometimes there's other shit going on at a show. So I had to have my own tent for these kids. And I just remember looking at, like, I'd be on stage and I look back and they're poking their little head out, like, trying to see their brother. So that's really like I was saying back on what you asked me before, of like what I would tell myself, like, just go for your dreams still, and know that you're the leader of your family. So this is going, there really ain't no letting them down if you just put your best foot forward, and I'm blessed to have siblings that always tell me, they're proud of me, and I'm proud of them. My siblings, they all got jobs, they all work very hard. I got a beautiful niece from my brother, so I can't complain. I got things that rich people really want, like, and that to me, that's wealth. Your family, your friends, if they really love you. Of course, there's gonna be haters out there. That comes with the territory, but. I love my craft. I love my family, my friends. My squad, and that's pretty much all the gist of me, for sure.
No, that's beautiful, bro. I think one thing that comes to mind when I think about you too, bro, is longevity. Like I said,
It's my
earlier,
favorite word.
Like you're still relevant.
Thank you, bro.
What do you think is like a key? Well, what's something that you think has helped you still be like at your game? You know what I'm like?
Not following the ratchet party. Not following the ratchet, because I could have stayed in that world for a long time. But I knew I just had to grow as a person, as a man, as an artist. I wanted to show people my depth and the range that I have. Like this new project that's gonna drop this week. It's called Be Mine. It's called Be Mine, and it's like a Valentine's-esque vibe, where it's just a bunch of love songs where I'm singing. I'm not rapping on none of it. And there's a couple projects where I would do that in the past, where I would just sing through the whole thing, and I just realized, just do what you want. Do what you want. They'll catch on later. That's the beauty of having a catalog. Where I don't know what song will break me. But when it does, hopefully I have a good enough catalog for them to go back and be like, damn, this song's better than the song that broke him. That's really what I want. So I don't get too discouraged. Like, there's an artist from the East Coast, my boy Matos, man. Shouts out to Matos. He's a young cat, a lot of talent, dope artist. And I told him, don't focus on the views, because he saw my last project and it was like little views on it. And I told him, don't focus on that, bro, because when I'm on stage, you can't tell. You can't tell it got little views because everyone's moving. So if you believe it and you love it and you think this is a song that should be out there to the world, then, put it out there, and as long as you and your people love it, that's all that matters, for sure.
100%. I feel like that's also super big because a lot of people want to. We live in the day and age of social media, right? Where that's like primary. That's like the thing that people kind of validate themselves with. And when you look at somebody's profile, sometimes you're like, oh, they don't got that many followers. But all it takes is like 10, 20 people to fill up a room. So if you got 10, 20 people listening to what you're doing, that's already something on its own. Like, all you really need is like 100 real followers. You don't need like thousands. Cause bro, I've met people.
Me and you are in the same headspace. It's crazy.
I met people who have like hundreds of thousands of followers, and like I'm not trying to like, say that their life is any better than anybody else's, but sometimes those people can't fill up a room. Like, all it takes is just community, right? Like, as long as you have people that listen to your stuff, that show up. That's really all that matters. Don't worry about the people that don't pay attention to you. Worry about the people that been paying attention. So I agree, bro. When it
Yeah.
comes to that, like views, like it doesn't really matter too much.
And I had to learn that too, especially when, because there was a drop after the Ratchet Party era. You feel me? There was a huge drop because I stopped dropping music. Like I went like 6 months, almost to a year, not dropping anything. And it was because I was trying to figure out my next move. Like, do I want to do this Ratchet Party style or do I want to do something bigger? Luckily, because of all those artists I told you in the beginning, I knew I was meant to do something bigger. Like I can't just box myself into this one sound, and I honestly felt like that's when I grew. Like I grew knowing like, okay, you're gonna take this risk, and there's gonna be a lot of people that probably aren't gonna like it. So it's fine though. Like they'll either come around or then just isn't their flavor. And I was shocked. Like once I started showing people that I sang, they're like, "Why aren't you singing more?" And I'm like, "Cause I was nervous." Like I just like any artist, you're nervous. Just like Erykah Badu says, "My art is my art." I'm sensitive about that shit. So I mean, I would like just like this. Like I was sing to a homie behind closed doors in the studio. He's like, "What? Like, bro, like."
You get down
Like you need to not rap anymore. I'm like, dang, like okay, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't want to not stop rapping. I mean, to stop doing that. But even like artists like GB who are heavily will tell me like, you need to take a shot at singing because you sing, like just sing. And I told him I just have so much fun doing both. I got my name because of rapping, so it's kind of hard to give that up. But then also, it is good to know that people are open to hearing different stuff from me now, because it wasn't that way in the beginning. It was like, we just want to hear you rap, So I've been slowly listening to that and just building projects for a bigger, a broader audience. And yeah, I'm excited. In a couple of days, it'll drop. So I'm excited for sure.
That's dope, bro. Is there anything that I haven't mentioned that you wanted like to talk about, like pulling up here? Something you had in mind, maybe?
I think I said I'm the oldest of 5. Like I said, my family is really like a big thing for me. And then Acito got tour right now. He's doing his thing. He's got a big show coming up in Frisco. He got one this week coming up in Merced, and then he also has a show going on in Fresno coming up. So be on the lookout for all of that. And then I got the Be Mine EP coming out, and I'll just be putting out a lot of music throughout the years, and then hopefully I can start collaborating with like more videographers like yourself. That's really my big thing. Like because I need help with the imagery. I was like that before when I came into it. Even Indica Films, they were the ones that pushed me to pick up the camera. They saw me doing it for fun, just messing around. And I would always ask them questions. They were like, "You need to get a camera," And then after that, the homie Charlie had said I'm editing a video one day for somebody I had shot. My first video I had shot for this dude named Vicious. And I'm shooting the video for him, and I get done, and he sees the edit. He goes, "You know what you're doing, And I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm just copying what y'all taught me, And he's like, "No, but you're actually you actually know your way around this, and you'll get better over time." So that was a good nod to be able to be like, all right, my video guys think I could do this. And because they were picking up so many big artists at the time, I didn't want to be that artist to be like, oh, well, you guys still need to work on me, So I've always been self-sufficient, go get yourself a camera, go work. And even if it wasn't for myself, like just work with other people, get better, and I'm nowhere, especially like when you in the beginning when you said like director, I'm like, coming from someone like you, that's amazing, because like I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to get better in that way, and hopefully this year, like I said, I love what you're doing. Like remember I was telling you before, seeing you doing this with the
The film club.
videography
Yeah.
and photography, the film club, I remember back then I was saying, like, I wish rappers would have clicked up like this. I would try to get rappers to do that. And for a little bit we did have that. We had people from different sections coming to like Now Fest.
Okay, yeah.
Which is a festival that we throw at like
the
every
fairgrounds,
few
right?
years. Yeah, it went from doing it every year to like every few years, just because it's a long process to try to even throw this festival and get the right
Sponsors.
artists and sponsors and all that. So
Yeah.
we to take it easier on ourselves, we try to do it every 2 years.
Okay.
We're gonna do a big one this year because my boy Gotham's actually moving to the East Coast, so this will be his last one here.
Okay.
And then we plan to have it on both coasts. We want to
Oh, that'd be
start.
sick.
We want to
Yeah.
start doing it
Coast to
over there on the
coast.
East Coast and do one here on the West Coast. So it's expanding. The Now Jam brand will be expanding. The Now Fest brand will be expanding. So that's something to look forward to too. But like I was saying with you, with the film club, like I said earlier, I wish there was a lot of rappers clicking up like that. How you got the film club, and hopefully the rappers can take notice of what you guys are doing, and say we're better together than we are against each other. Because imagine the type of artistry that'll come out of it. And then my advice is, if you don't know what the Central Valley Film Club is and you're an artist, you definitely need to be tapping in, because there's literally, you got like 100 people of all different flavors, So yes, please get with my guy and really tap in and do it, because I like seeing dope people come together. That's my big thing. Love seeing dope collaborations happen. I don't care about getting the credit for it. I just want to see dope people do dope stuff, So, I want to thank you for that too. Doing that and opening this up. Our city for sure needs it, but the Valley needs it as well. And I love that you made it Valley.
Valley-based,
Valley-based. Because. We get looked over so much, and there's so many
So
gems
often.
that come out of here from all types of different fields, that it's like, I'm tired of it getting overlooked. I love the Bay, I love LA, but it's time for the Central Valley to have its turn. And I feel like with people like yourself and even me, playing a part in it, we'll hopefully see it get to that point.
Dude, no, I agree 100%, and it's like something that I always tell like my friends is that like the Central Valley is more than agriculture. Like we are culture. Like there's so many different types of people that are talented here in the Central Valley that, like you said, bro, they're overlooked. They might not get like the exposure that they need to get like popped off, but the fact that there's still people, like I don't want to make it just us, but the fact that there's still people working, creating, and just creating that path makes it more possible to be like, okay, like we're here, like we're not going anywhere. And every year, bro, it's just like Merced is not being sort of a pit stop anymore. It's becoming a destination.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
And it came a long way. Like it came a long way from when I started, like in 2015. I'm sure it came a long way when you started with music.
Man, yeah. So I look back at, like I was telling you earlier about the forefathers, like of the rappers. I always constantly still, if I run into them, I thank them. I remember even once I started getting a name out here, they're like, "Oh, we see you," and I'm like, "Dude, the OGs, like what? Like this is crazy." And I'm like, "I see you guys. You guys are the only reason why I'm able to do this, And other artists like me are able to do it, So, for me personally, I just want to see the Valley grow. I definitely want to see Merced grow, and and hopefully in a few years' time, we're to have a different conversation on what the Valley's looking like.
I love that, bro. Cool. Is there where can people find you? What are your socials? Where can they find your music? And where can people find you?
I make it easy on everyone. Everything you can find me at Johni Boi Lopez, JOHNI BOI LOPEZ. That's on everything. If you go on my Instagram, I have the links there to everything that I'm doing, whether it's a show, whether it's, graphics, anything, videography, photography, whatever you need from me. I got you. Just hit me up, and I'm pretty chill on everything, so you don't got to worry about getting a crazy ass answer. I'm pretty just like, what's up, dude? You know, I'm an approachable person, so you don't have to worry about no extra shit for sure.
Sick. All right, bro. Well, I think that's it, man.
Man,
Thanks for
thank
coming
you,
today,
bro. For real, man.
Appreciate
For
you,
real.
man.
Thank you, bro. For real. Hell yeah.
All right,
This is
Ricky.
great.